Hello and welcome! Look at this! I actually painted a sample. We're going to do a fun water drop on grass. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Deliberately Creative. I'm Stephanie and I'm here to welcome you to a fun water drop painting lesson. This is a water drop that is showing the whole flower that's right behind it. The water drop, when it's hanging like that, is like a giant lens, well, a minuscule lens, actually not giant, a tiny little lens that will fisheye everything around it and focus it into one little spot. So at first I was thinking, well, that's got to be, photoshopped and all of that. And then I started doing some research, and actual photographers have books and books on doing this exact type of photography. And they do a thing called focus stacking, where they take multiple pictures at different depths of field, and they get that sharp focus inside the water drop. We're going to do this. I'm also going to show you how to make those little pearl-like water drops also. I had some people asking after a previous lesson, the cherries, which is on my channel here, and it's in the Acrylic April 2020 playlist on my channel. So, and that's linked up above also. So they asked, can I do water drops bigger so that you could see it more easily? I said, sure, why not? So let's go ahead and get started on this. We are doing it on 140-pound watercolor paper. This is watercolor paper by Arteza. It is listed down below in the more information. All of the information for the materials that I'm using are listed down below. I will go through the list of colors right here in the video. So we'll be good on that. And I'm using a random set of brushes. I have one really big brush. This is a 1-inch wide flat brush for painting in this abstract version of the flower. I also have a flat brush. This is the 3/8 inch flat by Turner. And they have it all written in Japanese, so I have no idea what it says. So I'm saying it's a 3/8 inch flat brush. And I have a number 2 round ruby satin by Silver Company. Hey guys! Yay! We've got folks showing up. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I am really excited to get going on this. I'm just letting a couple more people find us. If you have a chance, go ahead and share this video out on your social media. Share my video on your Pinterest. Did you know that you can pin videos to Pinterest? That really helps the discovery of my channel. More people see those pins, and then more people watch the videos. That is a huge help to me and my studio. If there's if you want to know any other ways to support my studio, click down below in the more information box. There's lots of different ways, but the biggest way, watch the videos, watch all the way through. And if there's a commercial at the beginning or the end, I try never to put commercials in the middle of my videos. If there's a commercial at the beginning or the end, if you could watch the commercial, usually they're, 30 seconds. That really helps me out too. I earn a few pennies from those ads being played and watched. Thank you. All right, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I am here with a traceable for you if you want. This just gives you the dotted lines, just gives you a general shape of what to do for the flower that's behind there. Really and truly, it's very out of focus. You can see that. I think I made my flower a little bit more focused, but that's okay too. Keep it sort of soft and out of focus in the background because you want your focus to be on this piece of grass and on that big water drop. All right, so now I am starting off here. I have, for my colors, burnt sienna, the permanent orange, the middle green, lemon yellow, Prussian blue and white. Let's go ahead and zoom this in just a bit for you. We'll go to the close-up view on the canvas. So I'm going to actually make that picture-in-picture a little bit smaller so I can get all of our palette. There we go. Oh, and thank you guys so much. The people who have been doing my painting lessons and sharing them on Facebook, I've been seeing those. I want to say thank you to Debbie and Mary and Janine and Sandy, and I think there were a couple other people, but I didn't write your names down, so I'm sorry if I missed you, but I will be catching up and calling out people that I really enjoy their paintings done from these lessons. So thank you guys. And here we go. We have 5.5 by 7, just because that's the size paper I've got. Since I'm taking off a 1/4 inch around by tape. Oh, and this is reused artist tape. So, see, Pro Artist Tape. I get it on at Michael's or on Amazon. I am going to go ahead and get my paper wet, and I'm sort of going out from the center to the edges. I want the surface to be wet so that the paint will move around, but I don't really want to soak the paper too much. There we go. That's pretty much all I need. And I'm going to take some orange, that permanent orange, and just a tiny bit of the burnt sienna. And you notice I flipped my brush over, so I'm getting a loose mix on my brush. We're going to go out to the edges. So I'm starting here in the middle, and since this brush has this lovely chisel edge to it, it's a 1-inch Simply Simmons flat wash. I'm kind of using it going out like the petals would be growing. Just working my way out by getting the paper wet first. It really helps the paint move, and it keeps it a little bit more economical because I am not having to use as much paint to cover the paper. Now we'll go back in and put some more dark in here, but I first want to get my nice bright background. There we go. See, real quick, a little bit more dark down here at the bottom because this is where the center is sort of off-centered. Doesn't have to be perfect. When you need more water, that was a lot of water. When you need more water, just go and grab it. Working towards that center, just so that the petals feel like they're in a ray type of form. Grabbing a little touch of Prussian blue so I can start getting a few petals that are much darker, have a little bit of detail in them, almost like feathers there, wasn't that? Just working it out. The background goes in really, really quick. A little bit more. So now I'm working down, I'm getting like a second layer of petals going. A little bit more brown into that, maybe another touch of that Prussian blue. Work it out just a little bit. That's all it takes. Because remember, the flower in the background is out of focus. Get that a little bit darker. And then we're going to get that a lot darker as we work down. Moving the brush quick actually just helps with that finishing edge. If I go slow, it doesn't carry out as far. I guess as moving it quickly, it allows it to sort of feather out, And you don't have to paint so much as let the brush just move. Ooh, I just touched a little bit of white into that. Oh well, no big deal. So now I'm going to come over and work this way just a little bit more. Get that burnt sienna even darker. Adding more Prussian blue to it. And we're just going to continue working our way, making this a little bit darker. See? By not using as much water, by trying to keep it drier, a little bit drier at least, you end up with the paper not buckling so much. I didn't put anything on here. I could have put a coat of orange on the background to begin with, and then let it dry, and then it would have flattened out more easily. A way to get these paintings to flatten out more, if you are, whoop, that's lighter. Oh well, we'll just work that around. See, we're just not worried. I do want that center to kind of be softer, so I'm just going to flick it out. Flick, flick. And let's see, I need more Prussian blue. There we go. We just want it to be darker. And there you go. So this is nice and dark down here now. It's not going to be glossy when it dries. Excellent. I love it when people just sort of turn my videos on and allow them to play as they're working on their own projects. I do that with other people also. I watch other people and do that. There we go. All right, so now I need to go ahead and just dry this really quick. So I'm going to use my heat tool. You can use a hair dryer, it doesn't matter. Just keep it back away from your painting so that you're not heating your paper up too much. You just want it to dry. You don't need it to, you don't want to burn your paper. You don't want to burn your paint. You don't want to shift the colors too much, but gouache shifts anyway. Ooh, charcoal painting of a black lab. That would be really pretty. My son has a black lab named Blue. All right, so there. Now that's dry enough. And see, the paper's not warped too bad. It's a little bit bumpy, but that's because some of the water is gone to the very back. Now, we're going to do the green leaf going across. I'm looking at this. I'm not actually going to trace it on this time because I never know exactly what my brush is going to do, but I like putting the leaf in with this big flat brush. So I'm taking some of that green, I'm loading it up onto the brush, I'm taking a bit of the white and a bit of yellow, and I'm going to just loosely mix those on my brush. We're going to start about 1/3 of the way down. So if you looked at this as this is the top and this is the bottom, this is about 1/3 of the way down. Here, easier to see it on this one. See how this is about 1/3. Halfway would be right about here. So I'm going to come about 1/3 of the way down. I'm setting my brush sort of on an angle out here on the edge. And I'm going to twist in so it's flat, and then just lift off. Look at that. We're not touching anything else on that leaf. It has a center vein. It has shadow underneath. Oh, we got that one in one try. Rinsing my brush out. Water drops are a lot easier than you think they're going to be. So there. I am going to now take my small round, and underneath of the leaf, about where that little bend is right there, I think that's where the perimeter of my leaf is going to be. I'm actually going to make a dark green with my Prussian blue and that mid green. You want to make sure that it's thin enough to flow off your brush, because we're going to draw the shape with it. Now, if you're not comfortable drawing the shape, put your leaf on and then go ahead and go back to the traceable and line it up with your leaf and just trace the water drop on. That's fully acceptable also. All right, so now in that area, let's see if we can go with the side view and see it better. Ooh, I think we're going to. So I'm coming in right at that bend. I have the leaf, the water drop comes down, sort of hangs, and then it kind of kicks out a little bit, like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and put some of that green in, because we have green in the background. The green is in the background around the flower. Let's go ahead and go back to the top-down view so you can see that's the shape that we ended up with. And now I'm just putting that green in the background. I will put the flower in, and since I already have brown, I'm not going to color the whole background in. I will let the brown of the background actually be part of the center of the flower. But this just gives us all of the background around the flower. There's green leaves, I guess. And since I have that green, I'm going to put my shadows in for underneath of my water drops. So we'll go ahead and go back to that side view so you can see it's basically just little U shape where I think I want a water drop to be. Tiny ones, big ones, they don't have to be perfect. I am going to put a couple over here because I want to brighten it up just a bit. And I think there's going to be a bit of a water drop hanging off the bottom. So I'll go ahead and put that out there on the tip. And I think there's going to be a bit of a water drop there and a little bit of shadow there. So right now it looks kind of funny, doesn't it? It looks like it has some strange disease or something. I want to round out the bottom of that just a bit. And then just make sure that I leave a little bit of the brown for the center of that flower. I want to lighten up some of that green in there. So I'm taking lemon yellow and that dark green mix that I made with the Prussian blue and that mid green. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a rim of the dark, but I'm not going to be super specific. I'm just dabbing in some color here because this is behind the flower. There we go. Now, I did do the sample painting last night. So that was the sample painting. I did that last night to figure out how the order that I needed to do this in. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit more of that really dark blue and put that right under the edge of the leaf in the water drop. Kind of like that. There's some background, I guess, behind that flower. Now, right now, it doesn't look like much, does it? We're going to put out some more of the orange because I used it all up in my background. So I'll just put out a touch more of the orange. I still have some burnt sienna. I really don't need much of that. I'm going to take the lemon yellow and the orange together. Oop, I got some of that green in on my brush. Let's see if I can get that off. So I got some of the green on the brush, just at the back edge. I'm just going to kind of dab it off. So we are going to come down here, and starting from the center, we're just going to flick out to create the flower. One edge here is a little bit lighter, so we want to have a little more light shining on that flower. I'm going to rotate this, and let's see if we can see it better from that side view now. Ooh. So now, starting in the center and working our way out to the edge, just flicking out, or starting from the outside and working our way to the inside and flicking in. Either way works. A little bit more of that yellow. And if you push through or your color comes doesn't cover as well, just go back in. It dries really fast, and you can add more layers to your petals. Almost like it looks like an orange bachelor button, or maybe it was a mum. Maybe that was a mum. I'm going to go in and take a bit of that burnt sienna, and I'm not worried about cleaning my brush. And I'll just tap in some of the burnt sienna into the center, and maybe a little Prussian blue. Now, what happens is that the flower is actually upside down. So I really need to make sure that it's darker on the top than on the bottom. So I'm taking a little bit of that orange and the Prussian blue together. Makes a bit of a brown. Because what that's reflecting is more this area down here. So, you know, little touches, little touches. It's not rocket science. We don't have to worry about it being perfect. But I am going to take a little bit more orange. See, this is just little details. Inside, we do that one little flower. Then we'll go back and do our bubbles, our little water bubbles. Water bubbles, water drops, water bubbles. This is actually acrylic gouache. So it is gouache in that it is matte. There's the finish on it is flat, not shiny at all. It's very velvety, but you can get the really nice crisp lines, and you can lay your light colors over your dark colors. You can go back and forth. All right. I think I want to go ahead and get my detail on that water drop, and then we'll go back and do the little ones. So starting off, we're going to take a bit of Prussian blue. Not that much. Just working it out with my brush just a little bit. I want some white. We're going to get a gray blue, or very light blue. And there's places where the reflection is happening. So now this is the actual, it's kind of hard to see, but this is the actual photograph. So of the water drop with the flower. So you see how we've got the lighter color down here at the bottom, the darker at the top of the flower, the background. You know, I could go in and put a little bit more dark, and I probably will, a little bit more dark into the bubble. But first I want to get that highlight started going on. And with the blue, I can do that up here, right here, and along the bottom of the bubble. So there's going to be more detail put in, but it's just, you know, you don't have to do it all at once. You want your highlights to be kind of flowy. You don't want dry brushing for your highlights. And when you first put them on, it's going to look really weird. All right, just go with it. You're mapping out. But see, even with just that, we're starting to get the idea of this being round. And capturing that flower inside. But it's not there yet. We have to do a little bit of softening. So I just took the wet brush, or cleaned the brush, and now it's just wet. And I want to soften out those edges so it blurs a little bit. This is reflecting the sky, the light around it. And it's not the highest highlight or the brightest highlight. So if you end up working this out to where it almost doesn't exist anymore, that's okay. I'm looking at this going, you know, I want to put a little bit more green yellow into those leaves behind there. But this helps me to see where it is I want to do that. Just blur your highlights out. Like I said, these are not the highest highlights yet. But doesn't that almost look like a photograph inside the bubble now? I love that. I love this effect. So I want to take a little bit of that yellow and the green, and maybe just a touch of the brown on it, but not very much. I want to brighten up a little bit more down inside here. To the one edge, to the lower side, with the yellow and the green. And then I'll take a little bit of Prussian blue into that and do something similar up here on the top half. If a little bit of the bright yellow pops out, that's okay. I can just touch it with a bit of the brown and green blue. What I mean by pops out is I didn't wash my brush. You know, it's probably easy to do this in multiple different tools. You can do water drops with acrylic. You can do water drops with colored pencil. You could do water drops with gouache. It's easier to do the water drops with products or materials that can layer versus regular watercolor. Watercolor is harder to do water drops. You can do them, but you have to reserve your whites. You can't add them back. So there we go. Oh, hey, I saw a picture of a leaf that it was like a curled up fern leaf, and it had water drops on it. And the way the person took the picture, they put a photograph of an eyeball behind, and the eyeballs were reflected in all of the little water drops. It was kind of spooky, creepy, weird, neat. How's that? Spooky, creepy, weird, neat. Now I'm taking my high highlight. I'm just getting some of the white. If it sits for a little while, your paints might get a skin on them. So you can give it a quick little mist of water, and it will save it from getting too glumpy. But if it's already skinned over, you'll need to break the skin off so that you can get your color in there, the color that's in there underneath. So now, bright white, tiny little highlight off to the side. There's a bit of a highlight up here. These are smaller, more considered little dots. There's a bit of a bright highlight right there. Coming down off the bottom, there's a highlight that almost looks like it's the drip coming off the bottom of the drop. So I'm going to get this highlight going in, nice bright white. And then I'm going to work it down just a little bit, so it has that kind of glow to it. But you see, this is step by step. Water drops are not hard. Water drops are not hard to do. I'm going to bring just a little bit of a highlight across, just because. Boom. I think that looks really good. Maybe the tiny little drop right at the bottom. Just a little rounded point dripping off the bottom of it, a little bit longer. It looks like it's ready to start starbursting on you. Now, while that's drying, we're going to go and do those fun little drops. And the little drops, we're going to start off with a white that has a bit of green in it. Because we're reflecting that green that's underneath, I want to get sort of like a backward C. And then leaving a little bit of a hole so you can see the actual color that's underneath also. And they don't have to be up as high. They can stay low. It could just be, tap, tap. Little tiny drops. They don't have to be as balled up. Just little drops of water. But by having that shadow there already, it makes it feel like they're sitting on the leaf. Don't color it in completely. If you color it in completely, you're going to block out the background. You want the background to show through. You want to get your paint down to the point where it's very transparent. So let's, you know, just a hint of color, a hint of that light. We've got a bit of the light hitting this one. You see how easy easy and effective it looks when you go in and just do little things, little things. Now, I'll show you what it looks like when you just put a drop right on without your shadow. We can put the shadow in underneath. But see how flat those drops look? They don't look like they're water drops sitting up on a leaf. They look like white spots, like polka dots. So what we'll want to do is go and grab a little bit of our dark color and just put a tiny little shadow underneath. Maybe I want to darken up the shadow on a couple of these. Maybe I want to put a few more water drops, so I'll just put a few more little shadow spots. Maybe I'll put a little bit of dark up inside. Not blocking out the whole background yet. Trying not to. So there we go. We're getting those water drops on. We're going to put the top on those with the bright, bright white. Indeed, this is a finished eyeglass cleaner bottle. Lens cleaner bottle. Nice bottle. Fine mist. So now I'm taking the bright white, because that's our higher highlight. We're going to give them a nice highlight on the tops. When you finish that highlight, it just makes it pop. Even on those ones that look like tiny little, just tiny little spots. See, so maybe that one's actually getting a bright white because that's what's on my brush. Just starts to sparkle. It just starts to sparkle. So there we go. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you are, make sure that you click that like button, subscribe to the channel too. Sharing my videos with your friends really helps me out. Give that a brighter little light down, hanging off the bottom. I need to darken up a couple spots here. So I'm just taking some green. And I'm just going to darken up a couple spots. Thin down the light that was at the bottom. Thin it down just a little bit. There we go. Making it so that you can see through just a little bit more. And seeing through is basically just giving it a little bit more green on most of those. Look at that. Boom! We have water drop. We have flower trapped in water drop. We've got little water drops on the leaf. I think I'm going to sign it. We'll see what after we take the tape off, if we need to do anything. I know that I like this one even more than the one that I made yesterday as my sample. So let's see. Get my brush a little bit wet. I'm going to sign it right here. Just right there in the flower, not too big. And now we're going to pull that tape off. I'll zoom out so we can see it better. Oh my gosh, guys, look at that. I am so excited. And like I said, this is reused tape, so I just stick it over to the side. And if there's any places that I need to do any touch-ups, I can do that. Get that out of the way. You know what? You'll be totally blown away by the water drops. When you make them yourself, it is so exciting. You're going to want to water drop everything. I really love this. I think that it's even better than the one I did last night. I like the brighter orange up here. Yeah, it's even better. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, for doing this fun painting. Let's go ahead and zoom in on it now. For hanging out with me, for doing this fun painting. I hope that you will try doing your own water drops. You know, you can change the colors up. You don't have to stay with the orange flower. If you want a pink flower, pink and purple, ooh, that would be so pretty. Remember that you are creative. You have the ability to make entire worlds. It's all inside you, and it's so much fun when you get to share it out with us. Thank you. Remember to tag me when you share your pictures, and I will be certain to give you some love on them. Remember that going out, doing something creative, taking care of yourself so you can take care of others is really what we need to focus on right now. Take care. Bye-bye.